am I okay without the camera? I'm in bed at the moment, so
it's up to you. Sure.
Yeah, no
it's pretty
problem.
dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, well, a lot of things to say here, but just on the last note that you left, an experiencer wrote, "They said we are a seed planet and they seed worlds."
That was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think
Perfect. Yeah.
that's what I have in writing in front of me from the 12th of March, only a few days ago.
Oh, hey, the timing of that's interesting. Interesting. We were a seed. Yeah, they take our seed. We're a seed planet. We're a planet to take seeds from, and they seed other star systems with it. Yeah. 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 They yeah, you got it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought I'd just make the link there with you on that.
Yeah.
Fantastic presentation, Jeff. Well done.
Thank you.
I love the pace of it, and I love the openness and the sense of the community of us all being here supporting you with that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
Right on.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Thanks you, man. I see your message there. Thanks, David.
Jeff, there's something else as well. The going out into the wilderness, as it were, cutting your ties with everything to make that contact happen. I'm reminded as well, I mean, this happens time and time again. We hear of these events with people who are having profound experiences, etc., that they find themselves, or they find the events while they're cut off. There's even the Christ in the wilderness comparison as well. That this is where it can happen, where it can be unfiltered, but it can be getting through to you directly as it should be.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Vanessa didn't like the woods very much. That's where things happened to her.
Right. Right. Yeah. Unfiltered, natural in your complete natural state. There was almost, well, that was, again, I could like write a whole paragraph or chapter or something on just the isolated part of it all, where it was this kind of raw, what is the human? I was in that state of what is the human, and who are we when we're not conformed to or not warped by our social world, this kind of strange world of capitalism and marketing, and we were born purely spirit. Yeah. And so there was a whole sub thing going on that I don't really talk about too much, but that was also really driving it, and I didn't know how intertwined it was with the beings. Yeah.
And I want to say as well, I absolutely get the higher self bit. The higher self is out of time, timeless, yet can intercede and oversee and interact and intercede with you in your life at any time. So while your life goes on in a linear format, your higher self is standing there in and out, coming in and out and interceding as well. And I absolutely get that.
Yes.
Is that what you call your other self? I'm trying to think if that's what Ian's referring to when you talk of. I always heard you say your other self.
Higher self.
Yeah,
I think
it's different than that.
would use.
Yeah. So I'm often saying the other guy when I'm talking about the one who knows he's being abducted versus the one who doesn't know. So I'm saying, the other guy. But the higher terminology,
same idea.
Yeah, you got it. Well, no, the higher self, he's right. The higher self is it's that spiritual part of you. It's the intuitive part that actually, Ian, you're bang on. It's the quantum self. It's the beyond space and time self, which is what all intuition is beyond. It's something about either beyond space or beyond time. That's what all intuition is.
How do you explain that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You got it. Yeah.
It's a way. Well, I don't think it can possibly be properly explained apart from it's all of time and no time.
Yes. I know, and it's so actually in Vedic philosophy they call it the absolute, because it's absolute time. Yeah, it's all time and no time simultaneously. Yeah, and same with all time, all space and no space. Yeah. Brilliant.
I had a similar experience when I passed out in a hospital, and I felt I'd been gone and lived a lifetime somewhere else, and I came back, and
Wow.
I'd gone, and it took me a long time to register who I was in this life, what I was doing, what I was, but I'd gone so far out, so far beyond. And actually, the emergency team who brought me around, they actually said, "We've never seen someone go as white as someone as this person here." So that was quite shocking. It was perhaps some sort of near-death experience, but I did feel that I was totally outside of the time of this reality.
Right. Wild, man. Like, how long did that last for you?
Yeah, I
Or
was
how
gonna
long
ask,
did
yeah.
someone else say that?
It must have just lasted perhaps just a matter of minutes, really. But I was gone.
How
And
long, Ian, did it take you to get back to your normal self? Because you said you were so far out, took you a long time, but you didn't say, was it a week or a couple of days that you were so
no, I mean,
disoriented from it?
I came back round in the hospital, and then gradually things came back to me. But it
Yeah.
was so disorienting. But it was an amazing experience when that happened. But anyway, when that's more for another time. Let's say I just wanted to share that with Jeff, because I can totally get the higher self being outside of time, yet able to see our linear reality as it runs as well.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Just a small thing before we leave. Jeff, you said that you were down there in Nova Scotia in 98. I went back for the first time to Nova Scotia in 23 years in 98, September 2nd, I landed, and I was there for a couple of weeks. And it was really weird when you
really
talked
weird.
about all these things. Yeah.
I was there, yeah.
And I was in
maybe I saw you.
Newfoundland at that time as well.
Where in Nova Scotia?
Whereabouts was it in Nova Scotia?
Yeah.
Just in the valley, Dartmouth, Halifax area.
Oh, Dartmouth.
And
Okay,
and we did cruise around the down Digby Way.
Okay.
We did a loop down Digby Way, and in Newfoundland, like all the things you're bringing up. I'm thinking, oh my God, I was there at the same time. We stayed
That's
at.
wacky.
I wouldn't go. I shouldn't go on about this, but we stayed at a little bed and breakfast in Dildo. Was it Dildo?
I know, yeah,
Dildo, was it? No, we didn't stay in Dildo. It was a place close to there, though. It was down home Newfoundland. They're wonderful people. But I just wanted to mention that coincidence. Not that it would have anything to do with anything, but
no, it's awesome. Yeah, this is a Canadian. It's a Canadian story, right? It's all across Canada. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, you had the adventure, man.
Yeah, not knowing I was having an alien contact event. It's so strange. Yeah, that's you were there.
Been there,
at the
done
same
that.
time. Yeah, you were there. That's great. That's great. But you probably never went that way, right? Where you I went up through Blanc Sablon over Quebec, Labrador, and
I didn't get up. No, we went the Tobermory ferry there and back.
Yeah, Tobermory. Yeah.
Pretty neat stuff.
That's cool. Very cool.
What do you plan in the future, Jeff, for yourself? You want to live your life as, I guess, successfully or as easily as you can. And in Canada, at least before this COVID and all the things that go with it, it's always been a good life. We've had medical care, and there's never been really that tough on you. And as long as you stay responsible, you don't go thrown in jail or anything like that. Usually there's enough of work around that you can make it. As you progress into your older years, what do you see? Not that you can predict it, because all this has sort of just happened to you, but what do you see happen in your life? Do you think you'll get more wise with the more experiences that you have? And
are you talking specifically like about what I'm presenting on here, like the contact events?
No, just your life soon. I mean, say within the next 10 years. I mean, what your purpose is now is to share, and that's we're being a part of that.
Yeah.
And that's fulfilling enough to try to sort all of these questions out, I'm sure. But for your own comfort or your own realization, where would you like to take this? Do you want to go somewhere where you can find out more on your own, as opposed to having these particular instances just happening to you? Or would you like to?
Again, so I'm like, you're talking about the story and the contact events, right? Is that your, yeah,
It
okay.
seems so often that it's out of your control. Do you have any sort of real need or express desire to get out there and go find out for yourself? I mean, put a sign up, here I am, Jeff, I want to talk to you now. You know, it seems so out of your realm of possibilities. It only happens when it happens.
Again, you mean the contact events, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Barry, I don't fully know what you mean. Like, what's the question?
Is there
like,
any way you can make a self-determined path for yourself that you can sort of take this over? This, I don't know.
Well, I guess that's what the book is, right? I think that's what I think. Yeah, right. Because it looks like something that happened to me, and at this moment of the story where I am, that's exactly how it felt. It does stop feeling that way. It stops feeling, well, yeah. I think eventually, as I go into an adulthood, when it stops, it really does. It becomes a magical experience, and I'm actually grateful that it occurred. Here's the thing that's really hard to understand right now. But I had this awareness, and I mentioned it in a video very briefly, but it's really hard to wrap people's head around. And this, I actually don't know how much people will accept this story. I don't know that people will accept it that fully at all, because what it is saying is it's talking about the beings understanding, not just knowing that there's a higher self, but maybe even having technology and having their livelihood wrapped around their own higher selves to a degree that they can interact not with the human, but with the other, whatever you are up top of it. And see, they had all this intelligence about the interaction with me, about the way the higher self, who the higher self is, and then who I was. And I'm aware from the white room and the vision that they gave me there, what our relationship really was. Now, I didn't know this in the story, so that's why it's like this. But the relationship is my higher self, this is my life. So the traveling was something that was in my karma, though I didn't know that. So I thought it was them, right? In the moment, I'm really feeling like they're responsible for me, but I'm telling the story as I know it. But now, as I look back, I understand the story. It's me. I have past lives of doing the exact same thing where the aliens aren't involved, where I get a spiritual epiphany and I leave my life and I travel and I do something really crazy. And so I have several past lives like that. And it actually is like, they saw that and they're like, oh, look what we could do. We could do this. We work together. And then so my higher self says, okay, here's a life. And that's why at the end of it all, I meet my wife. So she's actually literally the end of my travels. And so it's my life. It's my design. And then the Greys, then it was kind of like an offer up. It was like, okay, here's a life, Greys, which you can interact with and build and do what you want to do. And then they're like, okay, great, we'll do this. So I have that. Now that I'm mature, I have that awareness. I understand it actually was my life. And then they kind of piggybacked off of it and got what they wanted out of it. And so even in the beginning, when I said it kind of felt like I'm a mantid, like like I'm built from the program of a mantid. That's one half, but I still also like have got married and I have a family and I have like a career. And so I have this like other human life. That is my life. And that's my karma. And actually, funny enough, even to this day, as I communicate with the beings in this kind of like, I guess, telepathic or channeling way, they communicate pretty clearly. This is us and this is you. And if this part goes hairy, we can't do anything for you. So like they get really clear about what part they interact with my life in, and then the part that they don't. So it's really, and that seems to be like the law or something, that they kind of really are understanding the balance between working with a human and then how they impact that human. And so does that answer your question? That's kind of, yeah, it's the gist of it. This was my story, but in the moment, I didn't know that. And so in the moment, I'm thinking I'm being victimized. Yeah, that's, but you'll see the way it rolls out, without a doubt, I was having contact events and they knew where it was going. So you'll see the way it all unfolds that they knew exactly where I was going with all this. And I didn't know it at all in the moment. So it's really, that just says something about space and time and how the beings are interacting with it and how they know this stuff. And yeah, it goes on and on about what else it says.
You'll have to tell us about your other lives someday.
Yeah, well, they see. There will be a period of my life, and it's part of the story, and I'll have a whole part of a presentation that will.
Cool.
Yeah, that will go into that.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, Ian.
Jeff. I wanted to say the way you just explained it. It's almost as though your life is like a reel of movie film, like the old-fashioned movie film. Yet they've edited themselves in certain sections.
Yes.
But the life carries on and the movie carries on as normal.
Yes.
There's just these intersections that they've added.
Yes, that's
in
exactly
that role of movie film.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you another quote from this person who quoted about the seed planet. Our direct download or upload are the ones being taken, and know as a whole race through experience with them is how we grow this race of humans. That's through the experience with them is how we grow this race of humans.
Wait, can you repeat this, Ian? I want to hear it again. I'm going to write it down so I can understand.
Yeah, it's through the experience with them is how we grow this race of humans. So, in other words, that their intersections with us in our lives is how we are growing our race of humans. That's what they're saying in this quote.
Yes.
We still have our lives, but they have a determining factor on them.
Yes, it's an integration. Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Was that it?
Yeah, that's it. I think just to cut to the point on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's corroboration.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. That's yeah, dude. The whole thing is wacky. It's not just this is not your classic contact event. In fact, I think we're starting to realize, maybe you already knew this, Ian, but I think me and Brian, we talk about this, like it's an interaction of your life. They're in your lives and they kind of merge with your life and they sit in the background and you don't know what's them and what's you sometimes until it all kind of unravels. But it's and then you realize that the perception is that they're learning from you, they're taking information, and that they're like in the way that they're integrated with my life, or the way they're integrated with me. So they watch my experience. I don't know if you can remember this, but I'm a dual soul. And the part of them being the dual soul is that she literally can psychically like experience what I'm experiencing. That's how she knows what books I'm reading and stuff. So she's integrating with me, and yet she's not invasive. It's not like something that is like,
she's sharing.
She's sharing, and she's doing it for study. It's not this like, oh, you're chosen as a channel. It's not this new agey thing. For them, it's scientific. It actually has a feeling of agreement and study and learning. And then I can feel almost intuitively, they take it into some kind of database, and then they really analyze it, and mantids analyze it. And they literally like study humans and like learn information and then make choices about how to interact more with that human, or maybe another program or something. Yeah. And I can feel that on the crazy intellect of these beings. I can feel that is occurring on so many layers or levels. So let's say the dual soul, it wasn't just to like be in my experience, but it was also to like, listen, I have a guru, and I'm telling you, it will be a crazy twist of this story, is that that's also what they were very, very interested in, that they gave me all this experience. Then they had a period where I didn't have a guru, and they watched me try to figure it all out. And then they watched how I used my guru to help me what they gave me. They piggybacked off of it. So they had layers of like, again, it's like layers of layers of things they get out of you. They don't need to get one thing out of you. They clearly are so brilliant and so intelligent, so scientific about these high things that they get layers of things out of you. It's just, it's bonkers, man.
And also the teamwork that they use, such as the Alder, the twins, the Man in Black, all of these characters.
Yeah, characters. The medical man, the medical guys. Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
they're all characters.
They're all characters. Yeah, they all work together. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
I liked I liked your expression. What was it about being enveloped? You said enveloped in the psychic. What was your expression, Jeff?
We're referring to what?
When you were in direct communication, perhaps with the elder, and you.
Oh, I guess like kind of psychic, but channeling, right? I guess it's kind of the same
Yeah,
thing.
but you said I felt enveloped in her.
Yeah, it's like you didn't really see her, right? She enveloped you. You didn't actually see her. You were
you mean in that moment? Yeah. What?
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You're enveloped. Yeah. Psychically. That's right. Because it's all in the eyes, and then. Well, I don't even know if I have a theory, but I don't have a full explanation for what's really going on there. Yeah.
I was in discussion with an abductee earlier who told me she said she saw her baby, the hybrid that was presented to her, and was taken in by its large blue eyes. But she said she couldn't remember even seeing the body. She was just enveloped. Well, she didn't use the word enveloped, but I felt that she was just enveloped by the face and the eyes. That nothing else was taken in by her.
Right. Yeah.
And you said it just now. You said with the elder, you never mentioned about what she was wearing, etc.
Yeah.
Because again, you're enveloped by the face or the eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. A hybrid so it was a hybrid gray alien.
I think she's still on a journey to work this out, but I believe that's probably the case. Yes.
Right. Crazy.
Nothing crazy about
Jeff, I had a couple of questions. If Ian's done, or
yeah, no, I'm done. I just really appreciated the way that you concluded this tonight, and the way that you, Jeff, when you went through, and every now and again, Jeff, you'd say, and then things got really crazy, and you go, what? It's like, yeah, it was fantastic pace and a good delivery tonight. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, and thank you so much.
Yeah, you're saying how your life wasn't really your life, and you're more your higher self. But does that mean everyone else has a higher self like that as well?
What? I would find it ridiculous that I'm the only one on myself. So I do believe and subscribe. I guess that's a belief, right? I subscribe to the idea that all of us, every single one of us as a higher self. I can't imagine that's not the case. And I do believe that. I'm 100% of the mind that you're just a manifestation of that higher self. Here's the thing is that, the universe goes on for a gazillion years, if it has any life really to it. And it does live in the space of no space and no time. So you're just a blip to what's going on. And we would all be just blips for our higher selves as it's putting bodies into lives. And for us, it's all slowed down in this kind of denser reality. And so we really do feel like our lives really they matter, and our lives do matter, but the meaning of what generates our life is very different from the meaning generated from what your higher self is. And I think this is the spiritual, this is what it's really a dimensional thing, but we translate it as spiritual. We call it spiritual in our world. And from the past life awareness I have, I'm pretty aware that this is really what we're trying to do. We're trying to collectively all kind of live from our higher selves. This is really the game, is really to bring that energy more into us. And for me, it manifests into my body when you just use the word gods. And so even to call God is really bringing in an identity of a part of me that is connected to the God self. So it's that part of me that builds my lives. It's this kind of complex thing, but it's really you, and you kind of spread outwards into this higher awareness. Yes.
Yeah, because I was relating that to myself. I think that's quite profound, because I've often felt over the years when I'm sort of getting stuff from the higher realms, but it could be my own higher self rather than a distinctly different identity. That's quite profound. So the idea that you're a dual soul is a separate thing. It doesn't affect that. The higher self, a dual soul, like you said, is two different things.
So complex. Yeah, it's so I am a body, and and even in the white room, I'll have another experience in the white room, and it's a different part of my consciousness that they use. So there's my physical body, and then if I was to be removed out of my body, my spirit body has its own, or the Jeff Selver has its own spirit energy. And so that's who you are when as soon as you die. And it might be the ghost of you as well too, if you remain as a ghost. So that's the energy. But that energy was also an offspring of a higher self that's controlling all the lives. So and that higher self is the one that really wants to be manifesting and putting itself into the denser world and getting experiences, as the Greys even said, to birth God, right? To birth to have more higher selves, to birth into physical dense reality. And and then that energy of me is what is my dual. So the elder put her energy into that energy, not my higher self. Yeah, I know, man. It's so crazy.
Oh, that makes sense. They're two different things. Like I remember you once said that in a future life, the elder is going to be your younger brother. I could see that wanting to come into physical manifestation. There's a purpose for that. That makes sense.
I did tell you that. I told
this makes sense to me. Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you, you said you're like the result of a program by the Manted, and he built you to get your memories back. Now this seems quite important. Like most abductees have their memories suppressed, and that's it. They David Jacobs thinks perhaps 6% of the planet's population was abducted, so most don't get their memories back. So if they kind of deliberately built you to get your memories back, they just instruct you, write this book. So you're kind of different in that sense. Like maybe this is, I've been reading Susie Hansen's book. She's a dual soul connection. She talks about 4 generations, how the program is getting, it's getting deeper, and each generation is coming more public now. So are you this generation where they kind of want you out there public, they want your memories, so you're kind of
an introduction.
a bit unusual, right? In that they want you to have your memories and go public. Is that the idea?
I'm a second wave communicator. If you read her outlines of the different
second wave,
I'm a second wave communicator is what I am. So there's a whole subcategory called communicators, and it's clear that I'm a communicator. They wanted me to write the book, and they gave me methods to get my memories back. Not just so it's so crazy, right? I have no contact. The way they did this is so insane to me, that they would bury the memories to the degree with which I didn't know I was having contact events. I had no, I didn't see a single UFO. I saw a light in the sky, and I'll see a couple more lights as the presentations go on, but not to the degree that I'm thinking I'm being abducted. And they leave no marks. They leave no evidence. So it really is sealed up, and they wanted it that way. But then they were very okay they knew how for me to get my memories back. Like that's so, like every other contactee, at least it seems, is lucky that they actually have, I saw a UFO and we had this foggy memory thing happen after I was 18, and they have it impacts their lives, and then they learn about being abducted, but they just sealed it all up, and they didn't want me to know. And it's obvious because I was sharp-minded and I was reading about aliens, right? I was reading Whitley Strieber's books at some point while I was having contact events. And had anything been bled over, had any part of it, I would have put it together. So they really were trying to seal it up. So I'm a very different type of person in this. I'm again, there's something unique in the whole, and I say unique in the sense for them, they really do keep creating spins and versions of their stuff. There's nothing, you won't find any copy of me. Someone may have a version like me, but again, no one will be like Susie Hansen. There probably won't be another Whitley Strieber, you know what I mean? There's all these versions of what they're doing. And
so
really
it's not many people would have your level of memories. I wonder how many, there might be people like you just haven't gone public yet. I wonder how many people like you have that kind of memory and who are going to go public. Like I know Susie Hansen was saying one of her sons, I think her second son, is like an example of the new human. I mean, you must be rare in that sense, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll see there's other humans I interact with who were all part of a similar program. So it'll be part of the contact event. And they all had the white room like I did. They all had profound consciousness experiences. And then they clear, and you'll see, actually, that from the draft, but in the presentation, it'll be clear. I don't know, man. I don't know the degree with which this stuff is going to remain hidden in the background for humanity, or if all of a sudden there'll be tons and tons of people coming out in the next year or something. I just don't know the stuff.
I just finished reading your draft this week. I know it's out of date. You've got more to add for more memories you recovered, but it's been very good read.
Awesome, thank you. It's their story, right? That's why I say that. It's their story. The way today unraveled, it's their story, right? Like I'm just like they did this to me. They, as we say, they were in the background, and then I agreed to it, obviously. And then in the end, it's like, oh, look at that's their story. Look at the way they put that together. Like, it's really crazy. Yeah.
And you also said like they're seeding star systems. That's quite profound. Like they're probably using your sperm to create your sons and daughters or mixed hybrids all over the place, possibly other planets.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming I'm the conscious one, right? Like if we're talking 6%, they have 6% of the, well, 3% are probably males then. And they're using like that's the male side, right? So they have 3% of the Earth population semen.
I think it must be great karma though to have your descendants all over the place on other planets. That's a wonderful thing. They're descended from you personally and all these other people as well. It's a big universe. So you said the universe is hungry for life. It makes you think of seeding other planets. I know in the Buddhist teaching, the Buddha described Brahma's creating worlds. And you wonder, is he describing these kind of things like mantids? You wonder, who knows? They're seeding worlds. It really makes you think like creating worlds.
Yeah.
I always trying to make a connection there.
Yeah, I had a just between us, whatever, it's gonna be in the recording, it's fine. But I had I can tune into things, right? So I tuned in. I just randomly tuned in, and I saw a humanoid alien that had my eyes. I was like, I am seated across the planet. Like I was like really like trying to think about this, and then I saw a weird like merging of genetics, and it had my eyes, but it was like had different type of skin tone, and also a unique thing was it was the memory was that's a humanoid for a gaseous planet. And I realized the words because it was like it came, maybe it's from the elder or maybe it was from this intuition, but see, I have this understanding that the beings don't just do this for biological worlds. They are life builders for dimensional worlds also. So they'll certain dimensions still have bodies, and they actually create them for those dimensions. So it was a very distinct difference for a gaseous world, or one where the biological body needs to breathe air and has interacts in the gaseous environment. It's a really strange. Hey, what's oh, sorry, there's David actually just said something here.
Yep.
Isn't that what starseeds say? That the alien handlers retrieve the seed from the hybrids and spread across the universe. I think I guess so. I guess the starseeds. Yeah, I guess. Wait, what are you saying? Isn't that a starseed? Isn't that what starseeds say? That the alien handlers retrieve the seed. The alien handlers retrieve the seed from hybrids and spread across. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the case. Yeah, I think that is
That's right.
Something.
That's what they've been. Yeah.
Yeah. Great question, man.
Yeah.
That's profound that your genes could go onto like a gaseous or another dimension. Like it's beyond our understanding, but it makes sense. Some things are beyond the third dimension. We can only get some understanding of what's going on, but it's so profound, all of this, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty large. Yeah.
I want to comment on the moment when the aliens are kind of clapping and cheering when you're having sex. There's a scene from the movie from 1972 movie Slaughterhouse-5. The main character, he's on a moon of Jupiter, and they bring a human female and they have sex, and all the aliens are clapping. It's like maybe they knew something. The producer of this movie.
Right.
It's very similar kind of thing, and the aliens are very happy about this happening. Sometimes you wonder because sometimes military intelligence puts messages in Hollywood movies.
Or they're abductees and they don't know it.
Yeah, something like that.
And they have it subconsciously in them to do that. Yeah. And also in Ian's, Linda Moulton Howe's last episode, again, like, I don't know this stuff. These are the stories. This is what comes out of me in the memories. And then I write it down. And then I learned later, right? Linda Moulton Howe was it last or the one before? It was the one before.
Last Wednesday is a really profound, Linda's show on the genetics, you know.
Yeah, the genetics one. And
really good talk she gave.
Loveless. Yeah, David, I can't remember his name.
Terry Loveless.
Terry
Thank
Loveless.
you. Yeah, Terry Loveless.
Very similar
And
experience.
that that the beings get something else out of the sexual act, that they actually, it's like, what's the question there? What are they getting out of it? Why would they want, see, there's all these versions of semen extractions that they did with me, right? The machine was one, but then they also wanted me to have sex as well too. And it was clear to me at the moment, I thought it was just that they were taking all of it out because I could feel them taking that information of how to have sex. It was all being taken out of my system, but maybe that's why they actually got so excited for it, was because it also produced some type of semen that had some kind of something that they wanted from the lovemaking scenario, from the sex act. So
The the beauty of creation.
Yeah, some people are actually saying and suggesting that it is actually during the act itself that the soul can come into being, into the being, and if it's done without without the act itself, then the soul cannot enter the being.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, that's I just mentioned the Buddha described the moment of conception. He said you need the man, the woman, she has to be in her season, and you need the Gandhava, which is the spirit that's coming in, and these three come together. It's not necessarily the moment that the sperm hits the egg, it could be after that, but yeah, there might be something in the act. Like Terry Lovelace was saying, it wasn't enough to just do artificial insemination. We know how to do that, but they wanted the physical act, maybe some spiritual component or energy exchange, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Terry Lovelace's story is very interesting. I've actually met Terry and spent time talking to him. I've got both his books now. I'd recommend both his books to anybody.
You want to tell the audience the names of the books, and are they on Amazon?
Yes, it's Devil's Den, and it's Devil's Den: The Reckoning. The Devil's Den is the national park in Arkansas, and that's where his abduction experience happened in 1976.
75, you think he said in the video?
Probably 75 then.
Yeah.
What park?
It's a national park in Arkansas. It's called Devil's Den, or the Devil's Den.
Oh, Devil, right. Missing 411, eh?
Yeah, as David Paulides says, the devil's in the detail.
Yeah.
Would
And
you do
Jeff-
it all over again, Jeff?
Listen, that white room, man, you don't know what that is. That's
The terror?
Yeah, I actually would. Not that part. I don't want that part, but in the exchange, yeah, it's not something I would regret. I know it's impossible for people to comprehend. And Venus, you don't get what this stuff was for me in those moments. I tried to express the joy and excitement in the presentations because that's who I was in those memories, and they really are with me forever. And it also ends like there's more. I get more presentations here. There's more contact events, and the way it all intertwined with my life is just so magical. And so I'm though.
Nice
It's
to hear
really
you think of it like that.
Yeah, it's really screwed up because you'll see how even though there's still problems. Like as I mentioned, the other guy is getting screwed up. Like I got damaged, and you'll see. I'll have a presentation where I talk about my life in Toronto, and where I have a couple contact events. But like I got damaged, and I took it out in my music, and I was writing aggressive songs and metal music with lyrics about shit that only can now be interpreted as what they did to me. Not even the biological stuff, but the rising, how it was really such a insane experience for me. And yeah, so Joe, thanks so much, buddy. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Hey, thanks, Jeff, for sharing. That was really amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
So Jeff, you said that their full identity is really into biology. It's like that's their role, the Greys, and developing the human race and spreading beings throughout the galaxy.
Awesome. Sorry, Dave's leaving too. Dave. Thanks so much, Dave, for being here. I'm tired, so I said leave. Thanks so much for being here, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Jeff, thank you so much for taking your time to share a very important part of your life with us. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming up. I know. I think
that was
Ryan
great.
you. Yeah, that's great. So thanks.
I look forward to the next part.
Yeah, you got it. Stay tuned.
Yes,
totally.
thank you. So thanks again, Brian, as well, for including me.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the next group meeting.
Awesome.
Okay,
Bye.
Okay, take care.
Bye, everyone.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was saying how you said their full identity is really into biology. You know, you make these profound statements. It's like it's all about the DNA, the genetics. They're creating life here. It's all about creating life.
Yeah.
Armories of the universe.
It's a spiritual process for them. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really learning from your experience. So, like, they actually said that they used your guru to use what they gave you. So, in a sense, I get the impression that they wanted you to go to that guru in Toronto. It's like he could help take care of you on this earth. He's in the human realm, like you're in the human realm. It's great to have a human being to help guide you, right? Rather than them. So do you think they wanted you to go to that guru in Toronto?
Yes. Yeah. They knew everything. Yeah. You'll see, it's a very,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. And it shows, you'll see they have gurus themselves, and I meet them, and it's all in preparation for meeting my own guru. They have worship, they have sacredness, they are spiritual beings by nature, and they reverence, they know these things, and they have that for their own higher masters, and then it's all in preparation for meeting my own.
I won't give away later parts of the story because that's coming up in future videos. I'll let you decide when you want to say that. It's very impressive, the book. I can't wait till your book is published out there. We got to get it out there, like Susie Hansen's book and others.
But it becomes a crux of the story where it's why they want the memories. It's why they're communicating. Right, they're communicating to the world. This is not my story. This is a human story, because they're kind of explaining what they're doing and stuff. They'll also tell like some of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, and they wanted it with a story about the guru, about higher selves, right? It's all like, it's breaking brains. This is how they think. They're always breaking brains. When you see a UFO, it shatters the brain of the person who sees that UFO, right? They do these things on purpose. They're breaking your brain. They're trying to make you think larger, think out of the box. Don't think your world is the way you think it is. This is how they go about it. And for me, I was just something to deliver a message for. Yeah. And they really, really milked it. Yeah.
I met a friend back in 1996. He came back from Brazil, and he described a UFO he saw quite close flying by with a beautiful display of lights that were just there for aesthetic reasons. And he said it really threatened the core of his rationality to see something like that. It's just something completely like this is for real. That's how he described it.
So I told I was all like really uncomfortable telling my friends that this is where I was going. I was writing this book. And so one friend knew, and then she said, oh, just, don't worry about it. Talk about it with, our friend Lenine. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. And anyway, it just came out, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been abducted by aliens. And she's like, oh yeah, well, my husband his life changed from seeing a UFO. Like, so you never know who's been affected by these things. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. When he was 22 or something, him and a group of friends saw this thing zigzagging across the sky. He said, blew his brain, and he changed his entire life. Seeing this UFO, just one sighting, it just blew his brain, and he's been obsessed with it ever since. It's like, oh, that's really weird. Okay, yeah. Then here's the story. I've been da-da-da-da.
Yeah, like that happened to Grant Cameron in 1975 in Winnipeg. The screen UFO in Winnipeg, it changed the whole direction of his life, and here he is 45 years later.
Yeah, it changes you completely. It's out of the box, breaks your brain. Yeah, they're very aware of what they're doing and how. And Ian, that line through the human experience with them is how we grow. That's how we change them. Yeah, that's this is it. Like they're very aware. Nothing. The more I see contact events, the more I'm aware. When people think that they're messing up, it's them being very precise, right? I guess who's it? We had one of the speakers on here, Alfred.
Al Matthews. Al Matthews in
right,
December. Yeah,
and he's taken from the highway, but then he remembers in a different spot in the highway, and it makes it look like the beings kind of like forgot where to put him. But I'm like, that's not what that is. The beings are purposely screwing with the human. So the human is like, oh my God, what happened? And then they're left with their brain like struggling. And they do that on purpose. They make your brain struggle on purpose. They want that to happen. They want humans to be kind of boggled by what occurred. And you left in these kind of states. And actually, to another experiencer, I was saying, like, those are markers. When you had that strange moment where you woke up twisted in your bed, those are markers. That wasn't them putting you back in the wrong way. They did that so you remember. You will always remember that day that occurred. So it breaks your brain. What the hell happened that night? And you don't understand. Yeah.
I'm beginning to accept that that's the way it's done. It's by design.
Yeah.
I was watching the video that you did with Kelly, I believe it is, and she talks about being found in a different position in the bed or sitting up on the bed. And the number of people I've spoken to who have said they sort of found themselves in a different part of their house or sitting upright in bed. These are, I think, markers that are more by design than by accident.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah, I was
it
just
happened.
thinking of Kelly. Yeah, we're planning a talk on her soon. We're for her giving talk. We're just picking a date.
And for me,
Yeah,
the evidence
that's good.
is how good they covered up my contact events, how good they sealed everything up with not a sight of anything in. So that showed to me that they're brilliant, that when they leave things behind, that's on purpose. That's how I was like, oh, look at that. That was done on purpose. There's no way that was by accident. Why would me be completely, it wouldn't make any sense at all how good they were at covering everything up with me. Yeah. That they would trip people up by, what would she say? She was brushing her teeth and all of a sudden she like didn't have her toothbrush in her or something. Yeah. Yeah. Kelly had some good, I actually reached out to her because I was like, no, those are markers. That's them doing it on purpose. And she's like, oh my God,
Th-
that makes so much
That's
sense.
right.
Yeah.
And I remember Brian in that interview is talking about the way that they tell you to calm down, be calm, etc. And that's the way that they, and it's exactly the same with all abductees. They all say they hear a voice or someone is telling them to be calm and they're taking control, etc.
Yeah.
And it does just calm them down, literally just suddenly calms them down, changes the mood.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there was very good questioning in that interview, Brian. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, I mentioned if you can elaborate more on how you receive telepathic communication with your elder. It seems like you don't have to get zoomed up to the ship and have a meeting and she looks in your eyes. Like maybe it's kind of old shoe. You've got this relationship with her. You can concentrate and maybe you can ask questions, or does she just come upon you, give you impressions? Like, and how often does this happen? Is this the kind of thing where you can just concentrate and receive a connection from her, you, like I said, like she's your dual soul. Like she's the one. Like I know in Susie Hansen book, she described how grades are assigned to different people.
Right.
Yeah. So is it like
Yeah.
that? Like how often you wanted to elaborate on what that relationship is like now with the elder?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you got it. My favorite is actually seeing the ships. So when I see the lights in the sky and there's a distinct feeling of like, don't record this or don't, so it's just between me and them, but they're, sometimes they're communicating directly from the ship and I can feel it. Sometimes they've left and then it becomes a telepathic communication afterwards. And then they're telling me something. It's simplified. I think maybe like sometimes when I have these really like larger conversations in my contact events, it's clear that I'm directly contacting. I don't really get that. That doesn't happen. It's sometimes just messages or like telepathic imprints. And I'm like, oh my God, that light said that to me. I felt the light say that thing to me. I've had the longer drawn out when I was in kind of a more, I guess, meditative state, or dream state, like when I'm like, before I nose off to bed and I asked a question. It can definitely happen where I ask a question. I've had this before where people ask questions and then they'll ask that and see what happens. And then they give me a direct answer. Yeah, and sometimes, but the focus is really always on what I'm doing with this stuff. So I don't know if you guys will put this together, but they remember how I had on the meetup, I had a presentation called How I Learned the Great Alien Agenda. Well,
Yeah.
I saw a craft afterwards, or maybe it was the day, I think it was afterwards, and a couple of days afterwards. And then I was like, oh, that craft is saying something to me. And it was just a light. Now it was with the satellites the satellites underneath the clouds. So it's like a bright white light just underneath the clouds. And it's like, oh, and like that's them. And I can feel them and I can feel her sometimes. And in this case, there was a distinct feeling that that's not the agenda. And if you notice the video, I took it all out. I took the title is not there. I changed the title to How I Learned Great, because actually they don't even say this is the agenda.
Oh, you mean you made a mistake and they're correcting you?
Yeah, yeah, you got it. Yeah, they're very clear about what's being said, and I do go intuitively about what about this, what about that, what's this, and they correct and they change things and they help me out, and yeah, they help out with the memory sometimes too. They point at things inside my consciousness. Yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, you're right. So I changed it, and they actually kind of gave me like a data dump of like, this is the agenda. And I was like, it's larger. They keep giving me pieces of pictures, and there actually is larger things going on that are hard for humans to kind of understand. So yeah, that's an example of how they kind of curb things to like help me out and explain, and they give me distinct feelings like that won't be right, that's not right, so don't say that. And so I guess the best way to say it is that the best communications I get are kind of in these states, but I actually have to focus, and it takes a bit of energy, and I'm not always in the space to do that. So sometimes I can get more consistent telepathy when it's repetitive. So I can sometimes keep hearing it being said over and over and over again. And I'm like, who is saying this? And then I'm like, oh God, okay, what's this all about? And I have to focus on what's being said. They are so telepathic, and humans' brains wander all over the place. Right. So that's clearly what's going on here is I'm not seeing them. So I hear the voice, and then I go back to eating breakfast, and I go back to my iPhone. Right. It's like that. So it's like flipped through my life. And if I really want to really focus on something, I have to like get into that space. And I don't fully do that. I don't really like the idea of channeling. I don't really want to do that, but I do zone in when I'm writing, and they are sometimes right there, or she's right there, and she's really interacting with it. And, yeah, dude, I get full impressions about crazy things. But one thing's again, the karma stuff, it's all about them. She's not interested in giving me numbers to win the lottery. Right? She's not interested in like, oh, go to work now, you can catch the bus, right? It's like, it's nothing psychic. Like they don't give me psychic information about my life. It's like, oh, it's distinct about them. I've asked before. I was like, what about this? And they're like, sorry, not gonna happen. They don't give, it's not like that. And so it's there clearly as a dual soul function to help with all this content. And, if it makes sense from their world, if you think about how much they gave me, they want it to go all the way. So then they have this inner person to help guide that process. And believe it or not, they actually helped this process too. Like I was told to build a community, so I didn't know what that meant. And then it meant to come to you, and and then you, as we know, that I actually saw a UFO the night that I saw you, or the night before that I saw you, that I actually craft outside the apartment. So that's them all kind of like, moving and trying to move things along.
Yeah, and I've got experience building like meditation Buddhist communities over 20 years. So I've been doing that.
Right.
But what you're making, it makes sense in terms of law of karma. Like they won't give you a lottery number to win millions of dollars because that's not your karma, right? Their role is separate with you, and you have your own human karma, and they're sort of a dual soul with you. That makes sense what you just said.
Yeah. Its function is completely to get the book out. I don't even know what happens after the book. I don't know if they're like, hey, done. I don't really know. I don't know what the future is. I'm doing what feels right, and it feels very right to do what we're doing. So,
well, on Venus, they said, you'll be a great man. You're kind of modest. You said, well, it means you'll be a good man. But since you're communicating this, and you have these memories, I guess this is like the generation is time to get it out, it seems, right?
Yeah. I need to maybe, I don't know.
Of course, it seems unclear, at least to me, whether like some experiencers have talked about, the great change coming, but whether it's going to be 5 years from now, 50, 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, my tendency is to think things take longer than it seems, like maybe not in my lifetime. And that's how it seems. So what's your guess? I mean, no one really seems to be sure, right?
Yeah, I actually think disclosure is going to happen in our lifetime, but I don't think it will be what you think it is. I do not think it will be a full bucket of here's everything about who and what we are. I don't think it's going to be that. I think I've told you, have I told you this, that I'm scared actually? I'm not scared of many things, but I'm scared of listen, I didn't know that Richard Dolan had talked about this, and it's kind of a theory that the government is going to say that the aliens are a threat. I didn't know that, and I felt that.
Yeah, it's called Project Bluebeam. I think Werner von Braun said in the mid-1970s that they could have a fake alien invasion. Certainly Ian could comment on that could be a fake alien invasion. And if it happens, for sure it's fake. Like the aliens will never invade.
Well, see, it is from a certain perspective, right? Like if you think of the perspective of army generals who are not spiritual people, it's going to be an invasion. If you think about their perspective and you think like they are withholding the capitalistic structure of our entire society, it is completely an invasion. It is an invasion from their perspective. It's not bad. It's not horrible for humans, but it will be, it's an integration, and it's an integration of trying to get the higher wisdom of humans up and running. And that means the structure of the society has to change to some degree. And so that is an invasion. And I fully saw that they would see it as a threat. I didn't know people had theorized that. And I actually am nervous because I think if they do something like that, people will target, us. They'll target me and they'll target us. And I actually was kind of scared for that. But I actually also think I actually had some feelings about how some of the stuff would run out. And actually, my next presentation will be a bit about the future and some of the visions they gave me. And again, they're just channeled visions. They're not. I had distinct contact events about the future, and then I had some things that they were like, by the way, and some of them were that they may strong arm more than you think they might, and they may strong arm in response to humans saying that they're enemies, and that if they do that, then it breaks the agreement for them to hide. And I'm aware of that, and they won't care anymore that they're hiding, and they'll actually visibly just like turn off army equipment. They'll just visibly, like, people can film them like shooting nuclear missiles like to turn off, and they'll like people be able to see them, and it won't matter anymore. And that's them responding to this human strong arming, and they'll strong arm the military. I'm pretty certain they like turn it all off, like, you can't do this, and it'll force humans into the scenario, force the governments, force people to. But see, that's them when when humans are the ones to say they're the enemy, and so they will really. I've seen some visions about it, and they really are like. Then they start going in and interacting with people, and they start trying to get things up and running, and I'm certain how the future rolls out is in humans' hands, and how humans respond. I'm not. The beings won't be aggressive to the point where they come off as threatening. They're responding to what humans do, and I'm certain that's how it rolls out. And that the strong arming is from the military, kind of like, we're gonna fight the aliens and protect our planet, and really getting the message all screwed up. And that's at least what they showed me, some of this detail, or their impressions after some other pieces of information have come. And and so all this kind of horrible stuff, like the Great Waves, actually, I'm pretty certain there's more there that's so much more complex, and I'm still thinking that there's a pole flip that's going to happen, and that all of this is all intertwined. It's all the pole flip, the raise of consciousness of humans as we're going right now, and then what makes our genetics very valuable. It's like all this stuff is happening all at once, making it very complex. And the pole flips, I think, are responsible for the Great Waves, but I also think they're controlling the pole flip. Or it happens naturally, but then they are interacting with it, and they can it has to happen, but they're holding it off. That's what I think I understand, is that they're holding it off. And so it's a whole bunch of like craziness all kind of heading to one, and how humans respond plays a part in it.
I just wanted.
Go ahead, Ian. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add on your point there, Brian, about the Project Bluebeam, etc. We've noticed that the narrative now is using the word threat, such as Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The word threat seems to appear quite a lot in any narrative now, official narrative from Pentagon sources, etc.
Yeah. Someone actually noticed online that every time Donald Trump was asked about UFOs, he turned the conversation to how powerful the military is. Every time.
They talk about a space force. We've got this great space force
with
now.
Great technology now that we can we can prevent anything now. We can So he went right to aggressive army tactics as soon as the UFOs are talked about.
Yeah, I want to also comment on the bad rap the Greys seem to get. Like, I was actually talking to a Christian today, said, "Oh, they're all Satan and stuff." Like, I think it's part of this program because I think the Greys are good. They're kind of loving, peaceful. They want to develop spiritually. That they're getting a bad rap. I'm wondering if it's coming from the reptilian side, working through the globalists. It's hard to figure out this balance. But in Susie Hansen's book, she's saying that there's a very positive future for humanity ahead, and that this will be the end result of this change. So it's how it's going to play out. I don't know. Like, I know we've discussed the waves, and other people have the image of waves. So is this metaphorical or literal, or it's just hard because they've said things in the past which never happened, right? Are they trying to like egg us on or try to warn us without being literal? Like, it's a mystery to me. It's hard to interpret. Like, you haven't head for the hills. Like, Crystal's actually headed for Nelson.
Yeah.
She's heading to the mountains. She left to where she was near the coast.
Yeah.
But you're not heading for the hills, right? You're not thinking the wave's coming next week.
No, I don't.
She lived
feel
in there in Nelson before, didn't she? Didn't
Yeah,
she
yeah.
from up there? Yeah.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel that way. I don't feel to do that. I was told not to change my life. I was told not to do any of that kind of stuff. So, and I mean, I did ask. I was like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you giving me these visions? What's this? This sucks. And the feeling was clear, like, don't do anything about it. So, yeah.
But they also gave you a rescue scenario, like the ships could come and pick up some chosen people, and leave others behind for the wave. So you'd probably be okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so crazy. I don't know. And I actually don't know about these dates. I know that they give dates, but listen, like giving dates, getting very specific about these kind of things, I don't understand it. It's like, it doesn't make any sense why to do that. And I actually, there's a bunch of things going on when you're communicating with these beings. So like, even with me, like, these are the communications I get, but like, I feel horrible if people are changing their lives for it. Like, I have to give the message out. I want people to take this message and then look at other messages, not be like, oh, Jeff Selver said this, therefore change my life. I think that's ridiculous. And I don't want anybody to do that. And I really don't want, people get very specific things, pieces of information like dates and stuff. And then they don't pass. I'm like, well, there's multiple things going on there. You got the alien communicating, number one. You got the human listening, who's interpreting a telepathic communication that's not clear language sometimes. Number three, did they misinterpret something? Like, did the human misinterpret? There's so many things kind of going on. And maybe it was like for an experiment on the being's side to see, would humans do this? Would human tell the date? What will they do? And I just don't fully get it, why that happens. And also, I don't know, man, I think we have to like take other people's interpretations of experiencers' information. I'm getting to the level where I'm like, okay, really, we need to know who said that and the contactee who talked like that. I don't want to hear, David Jacobs' interpretation of that experiencer, because this is the problem. This is really what's happened. Actually, Brian, you actually just said something too that I think is really, you said, oh, what force is creating this kind of negative interpretation of the beings? And I actually, like, again, I'm always of the mind that there's no evil force running the government. I don't live in this space. I don't like conspiracy theories. I live in the space that humans are all trying their best. And, we have lack of information right now. And I actually think that the humans in that kind of Eisenhower era purposely made a choice. Now, maybe it was not for the best intentions. Maybe it was to preserve something. But I kind of maybe sometimes also think the beings may be warned. Like, if you don't tell humans about what we need, the changes that need to make, then at some point, or maybe they're communicating that now, it's looking bad, and you are the ones responsible for this because you're not telling your humans what's going on. So then it looks like we're abducting. It looks like we're being horrible. And so it's kind of a natural consequence that we don't have all the information, that it would be very easy for someone to formulate a theory that the beings are evil. And that's a natural consequence of how hidden everything has to be right now. And I really still believe that the beings initially tried to make it as transparent as possible. I think that's their nature. I don't see them saying, covering up the abductions. Oh, cover it up. We don't want everyone to know. I think the probably initial thing was to be as transparent as possible. And then the result is to not be, because humans chose that. And then the result is, dude, I watched 411, Missing 411, and I also see things in there as an experiencer that I'm like, wait a minute, you can't make that assumption about what's going on there. And yet you have to, because the information is missing. And so humans can look at that and be like, oh my God, it's a horrible, scary Missing 411. Those humans are taken and mutilated probably. And oh my God, it's horrible what's going on. And yet you don't really know what's going on, because they're taken onto ships and you don't know what's happening. It could be lizards who are being mean, or it could be grays who asked for permission, and you don't know what's going on. And the horrible thing is that we're left to do this. And I think that missing information is a result of choices made. I don't think it's like a real agenda to make gray aliens bad. I think it's the end result of not having information out. Maybe the government would ride on that. Maybe they're like, oh, look at that, let's go with that. Maybe they want that. But I always lean towards humans' best intentions. Humans tried to be the best person in that moment. And so in this case, they thought they were doing the best thing for their world. And that's what I believe, even though that might not be for you and me. We see that, we don't, what we know, but do we know that generals went to the White Room? Do we know generals saw how spiritual they were? Do we know that generals, you know what I mean? Generals are making these decisions, and I don't believe these guys could take that. And that's why they come to the population. So yeah, that's my rant theory about that.
Yeah, you know, your video on Eisenhower, I thought that's maybe the best video to show, like, this is Jeff, you know. I showed them that one because people know about this Eisenhower thing, or they've heard about it. I think that's a cool one video. It's like less than an hour long rather than giving 25 hours. And do you I think, what do you think? Is that a good one just to show a Jeff video? That's the one I'd like to show.
I don't know. I'm insecure about all of it. I think I'm always like sloppy in my presentation. I don't know. I'm always sloppy because I'm just, you know, I did that presentation after 3 hours or something, after 2 hours of presenting. Then
Yeah.
I did an Eisenhower presentation. So I'm always feeling like I'm just sloppy, and also because I'm in a state as I'm trying to get these out, I'm in emotions, and I'm sometimes rushing my words and stuff. And
I thought it was profound. Like, you're giving it from the grace perspective. Also, you're showing sympathy. It's not just Eisenhower, but the people around him. They just really didn't know what to do. So said, look, we just can't talk about anything. Like, you really showed a sympathy for these human beings dealing with something so profound. And the generals are not this type of spiritual people to deal with this. And it looks like they did the wrong decision. Like, I agree. If the grays were transparent, it would have been nice before any of us were born in 1954 if the truth came out in a proper way. And now that's the justification for even abductions. Not even a fair word. Like, maybe if there's permissions asked or permissions given in previous life, and they're going about the way they have to do it now. But if they do something like saying there's creating their own false flag alien invasion, it does seem like they're trying to give a bad name to the aliens, to the Greys, the Federation planets, to protect their power. It seems that way.
I think it is
seems to
very
me
much.
there's two sides, you know.
Yeah, I think and again, actually, she gave me insight into this. I don't know why I have this. See, why me? Why do I get this perspective? But they see that it's in the White Room that I felt the 50s. They showed me my past life and how my higher self responded to something in the 50s. Then they actually give me a distinct contact event where, you know, we decided to bring the hybrids in because of about the nuclear weapons. Like, they really are distinct about giving me this type of information. And I felt from her directly in this telepathic communication, kind of the channeling. So you have to take it with the grain of salt that you want to take it, because I call it channeling. But they're struggling with military men right now, that there's military men who they want military men to have my book. They're not talking about go to the public and sell your book and make money. They're saying, good, take that book and send it to the government. They actually said, give it to Justin Trudeau. There's like, give it to military men, give it to people who are struggling understanding these beings. The elders distinctly in telepathic communication give me clear conflict is happening because of like conflict that is threatening the entire planet is happening right now because these generals don't understand. And she explained clearly to me that you have what's happened is that there's the departments are all fragmented. So you have like defense, you have Navy, you have CIA, FBI, everything's fragmented. So you have like one side that actually might be like, oh my God, we sent in a soldier and we now understand they're spiritual beings. We love these guys. And then the CIA is like, yes, but we need to protect our interests. And then vice versa. Over the years, what they'll like another version of them will be infiltrated or like some other, they'll get information, but the fragmentation keeps everything where it is and doesn't change anything. And the beings, she basically just showed me that there's just too much fragmentation of the people who they're communicating with. So that fragmentation keeps them saying, no, human, we're going to keep our structure and we aren't going to change anything. And that's fragmentation it's going to allow the bullhead to hit, which is the problems that the human world is going to start facing, and that could use gray alien help, that won't get it because we've determined that these guys are enemies because they want to destroy our infrastructure. But it's because there's too many the American government or the government that they're interacting with is segmented too much. And then one is always holding the power, regardless of how many others actually end up knowing the truth or knowing that this is okay or this is for the benefit. So she showed me this stuff. I don't know why me. I don't know, but it happened this way. And again, the books, they don't say, oh, tour and make money. And, they say, give it to generals, give it to governments. So they understand what we're all about.
I think you're onto something there. Like, yeah, of course, you finish your book and get it published, but aiming at generals, like after Prime Minister Cho got elected in 2015, I wrote to him a few times about aliens and UFOs. I was inspired to do this. I never expected an answer, of course. So it really resonates with me that we should aim in that direction, because I remember I said, you're trying to help these people, right? You're not an adversary relationship. You're trying to help them.
Yeah. I feel like this is, we're all born into this, right? We are, again, the collective consciousness. I'm not pointing fingers, and you don't change anything by pointing fingers. You change things by agreeing and understanding. And, Tom DeLonge, actually, again, he did a good job at kind of saying, listen, man, I understand why you, the Pentagon, would want to cover up this up. And I understand why you would do that. Hey, I'm just throwing you a different angle. And that's how we got the relationship. That's exactly the example we need. Is you don't change any of this stuff by pointing fingers. You change stuff by saying, I understand why you would think that way. I get it. I'm just trying to show you a different angle to this whole story. And I wonder
how so few people there are like that, actually trying to approach the military like that. Like, maybe you're the one, maybe you should be approaching the military. Like, you have that consciousness. It's in your mind. You know what to say. You're like a diplomat for the Greys in the human realm.
We'll see how it goes, because I'm just a dude and the story is almost unbelievable, right? So
well, you're more than a dude. Like, you have a job to do, and you suggested you might live another 40 years, maybe have some sense of your lifespan, or they gave you that, or they
That'd
know.
be nice. Yeah.
They probably have some sense of your lifespan. Like, I'm an old guy, I'm 61. That's why, you're at a suitable age. And also, maybe they didn't want you at age 23 to be the guy, because people don't respect the 23-year. They'll wait till this guy's in his 40s, like President Kennedy was 43 and became president. It's a suitable age for you to, be a public figure.
I couldn't understand what they gave me at that age, at 23. I couldn't understand it. It took to the time it is now for me to understand what they gave me. Yeah.
You need to mature. Yeah.
You got to like their patience, and you have to respect that they have a long agenda. I mean, you're only in your lifetime, as I am, but especially you're only one part of that. These experiences that you guys have shared together, you've helped them, they've helped you. That just goes on. I mean, the next generation, whatever it is, it's going to happen again. It'd be nice if in my lifetime, and I'm sure we all think of it that way, that I might learn an awful lot more that's concerning to me and my life through the Greys and the aliens. And I wish for that. I mean, it hasn't happened. Brian, you're the same way. You haven't seen a lot of things going on, but I really wish for that. I don't have that many years left, but I'd like in those years, I'm much more enthused about alien relationships, the possibilities of things that I don't know. I like to think that I'm, fairly bright and I know what's going on. But when I sit down here with you guys, I'm as stupid as anybody. And that's the problem. We should all learn a lot more.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah.
And we're learning.
Yeah, totally.
But we're such a minority. Like, how many people in the world are really listening to this? Like, we're such a higher echelon of truth of the kind of things you're talking about. It's a rare higher echelon. That's what draws me. I've always been drawn to the profound, the highest narrow niche of truth, which majority are. But more people are into it. Like, a lot of people have heard of the idea of abduction and Greys. It's part of our culture. There are people that listen.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. That's why I said that about my friend Lenine. Like, it's. I was like, I really don't want to talk about this. And then, she's like, oh yeah, my husband saw a UFO, changed his life. Like, oh yeah, everyone's affected by this. Like, in some weird way, you don't know. It's the unspoken part of humanity, right? How many people were affected by just seeing a UFO, or who you don't know has been affected by this. And all of a sudden you realize that they had an experience. Even we had him on here, right? Paul Elder, and turns out he's a contactee. He's not even just he's not an abductee. He's an experiencer. he didn't tell us. He's like, he kept it in the secret in the background. Oh yeah, by the way, I had this one contact event, and I had another, and like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Paul Elder described UFOs he saw in Ontario. Like it's
Yeah.
more than just a Minister of Defense. You've seen them, yeah.
Yeah, well, he was on them, right? He actually he said he saw things on the screens, and they had another contact event, and they showed him things about nuclear missiles. Like he had distinct full contact events. So it's a really powerful thing. And the guy wrote a very spiritual book. And as I mentioned, I saw his book, someone reading in the cafe, and I didn't know him, and I just saw the book. And yeah, so this is the Gray's influence, right? The impacting in the back end, slowly changing humans, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
their brilliance.
let everybody know, not just the people who want to decide for themselves what they're going to do with this information, but let everybody deal with it on their own terms.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what you're going through, much more than I, but I like to see it like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like UFOs are part of the collective unconscious. Like it's not a joke to people. We talk about UFOs. It's something that's kind of deep and serious, or people want to dismiss it. And also some very intelligent people take it seriously. I was talking to Professor Anthony Hall in University of Lethbridge. We were doing a video on COVID. We talked about UFOs. And yeah, he was very serious about it immediately. So it is like something very deep and very important. And I think surveys show at least 50% of the population think, UFOs and aliens are real, they're here. The fact that society doesn't want to talk about it means that this is something pretty serious and deep in people's minds, but they're not discussing it.
Yeah, they don't. And I actually think it's the speculation, it's the mystery, it's the kind of problem actually with the UFO. You actually sent me something, Brian, and I actually was like, well, I don't mind that. The European defense, blah, blah, blah. Listen, it's probably, I don't know what the step is, but
I got that from Marie France about the European, they don't want people talking about UFOs.
Yeah, of course that's extreme. We don't know how extreme that will go, but the truth is that misinformation is playing a big part. Like even our UFO groups, I get kind of like overwhelmed with like all the stuff I'm hearing. I'm like, oh, like you don't have it correct. And I also don't want to get into an argument. So I don't talk. And that's from misinformation. That's our group. Like it's right here. It's in our group. Like misinformation is everywhere. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they would shut me down, I guess, but I'm not. Like I'm pretty relaxed. Like if whatever's supposed to happen is supposed to happen with my stuff, but I don't want misinformation out there, and I find it's running amok, and I think it's really warping people's brains. And I just think misinformation see humans are actually, what's a good line I saw, it was actually from a psychiatrist, because I like to study psychology, but the idea being is that anger and here it is here. In lunatic asylums, it is well known that patients are far more dangerous when suffering from fear than when moved by rage or hatred. So fear is what is driving misinformation, and it's just goddamn horrific. I actually can't stomach when some people get on our thing and they're just, they got all these theories about why it's horrible. And I think we actually do a really good job at trying to manage that. And Brian, I think you do a really good job at trying to manage it. But when I see them making an act on that, I'm like, well, that's actually kind of maybe, who knows how far that will go. And I don't want it to go too far, but I'm actually okay with them like taking down crazy sites. And, we actually, some of the comments we get clearly comments from people with warped ideas, right? Gray aliens are lizard robots taking over the planet. And they just like, where'd you get that from? Like, why are you saying that? So like, where'd that come? What experiencer, see, they don't even have a link. They don't even have an actual experiencer. They have some person they heard it from, right? And even Petra, sorry for bringing her name up, but she doesn't have an experiencer she's getting this information from. She's from someone who channeled it. It's not even an experiencer. It's like, how can you base information off of this? And this is what everyone's doing in the group who doesn't like the Grays, is they don't have a single experiencer that they're talking from. They're talking from something they heard, from a book they read, something. It's not actually from an experiencer. So the misinformation is driving all of this into crazy places. And I think it makes humans crazy. And I actually, you can see the emotions it generates in people. And I actually, I just really don't like it personally. So I'm not saying I'm agreeing. Yeah,
I don't blame you.
You're exactly right there, Jeff, because as far as I'm concerned, the only way that we can get the true handle on what's going on is talking to the actual experiences themselves directly.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. And there's a lot of interpretation, and I don't know where this comes from. Where the hell that guy get that lizards are controlling grays, and like where did this, and he didn't have any link. There's just a comment. He talks like he knows what he's talking about. It's like, yeah, that doesn't and of course, those who don't know would listen to that, right? That's the other thing too. Oh, well, maybe he's right, and then he just like someone just listens to that, right? So
I know one of Susie Hanson's talk, she had produced a CD or something, and then shortly after, someone stole her information. They're giving a talk, like someone who might want to profit on it. Some UFO person would want to profit on her information. She said, "This is a really bad problem, in our business. People are stealing my information. Other people's making up stories or taking it as their own. That might be a profit mode." But of course, since the government wants to obviously not give us disclosure, since they're trying to suppress the truth, it would be in their interest to create this kind of disinfo and to make the Greys look bad and to create all this fear and lies. Like they create fear on other things, right? The government creates, or media creates fear. So it makes sense they would have a motive to create this fear, because obviously they're not giving us disclosure. Doesn't that make sense that government agencies would be part of this?
And there is some evidence, right, that there's people who come out and purposely come. I don't know. I don't. There's someone's got a documentary. I've seen the information where the guy has agreed that he was purposely giving misinformation to UFO groups and saying false things and trying to say he had a lead and knew things and
How to deal with that? I guess that's the question. How do we deal with this?
That's why and we're going in the right direction. We have experiences.
Like you and Ian are saying, listen to the experiencers.
Get the experiencers in here. And of course it's fun to have, the occasional, like, whatever, everything else. I actually really love that too. The Paul Elders and even, Michael Horn. It was just fun entertainment, but the experiencers are really where it's at. And you really do get a big picture about what's going on from experiencers. And it's the only way to get the information.
I guess just keep telling the truth. I remember my Buddhist monk teacher saying, just teach right view. You don't have to argue with all the wrong views out there. Just teach right view. Like just tell the truth and just hope something will stick, I guess, or just keep telling the truth.
That's it. Well, fighting creates heat, right? So the whole point is to create and not destroy. If you are focused on fighting, then you're trying to destroy. But what you're doing when you're doing that is you're not telling them what to create, right? So the reaction in the human mind is to fight back. So it doesn't matter how right you are when you're trying to destroy someone else, you're encouraging them to try and destroy you. So the actual act of you trying to correct someone reinforces them, and they just push back. It doesn't even matter if they're right or you're right. It doesn't matter, and then it doesn't matter anymore. So the only thing that actually changes a human being is by living by example on what to create. Yeah, living creatively is the answer. And I don't believe, even, I'm going to get people who don't believe or want to take this down, and I don't engage. I just don't. Even yourself, I actually really appreciate your just open-mindedness. Like, yeah, you can look for deception, and anyone can look for deception. I can be, and I'm as transparent as possible to show that I know there's no deception here. And yeah, they left some things out, and I explain how I interpret that. But in the end of the day, I let people have to make up their own minds about my experience, and I can't argue with them. It's like, remember, like we, what's his name wanted me on his channel. I'm like, forget it. I'm not going on his channel.
Yeah,
I consider
L.A. Marzulli.
Yeah, L.A. Marzulli. And I would talk with him, and I actually would engage in conversations, especially when they had valid points, but the way they wanted to like take down, it's like, fuck off. Sorry. But like in the end of the day, I love when you brought people have been on here who actually have those opinions, and then they just ask generally, what do you think? That I think they're demons, and I believe this, and I'm like, okay, that's valid, man. Totally. Here's why I know that they're not demons, and I'm just telling you my perspective, and that's all I can do. I'm not going to fight anybody over it. And because most people's perspectives are valid, right? Like Gordy's perspective, when you watch Missing 411, and I guess they have some kind of contact experiences or some knowledge that some of those events were grays or something, I don't know, but not that I actually know, because I don't know where he got his information from, but you know, the fearful stuff around missing 411 is like, oh, that could look really horrible, and I can see how that's generating a whole segment that is just, they're demons and they want to fight, and I'm not gonna argue that, man. I'm not gonna fight that at all. That's not my role. It's actually not my role. So to be creative and to live by exactly how I want to live, and then I don't care what other people are thinking about me or what they're saying about me. So
Actually, Gordy called me back because L.A. Marzulli wanted you and I to be on his show to talk about the Federation plans, why we think it's a good thing. But it was approaching the end of February. Then Gordy phoned me on L.A. Marzulli's behalf saying that, well, he changed his mind. He shelved the project. He didn't want to do it. And Gordy was just politely explaining that he didn't actually want to make the video. I said, that's fine. That's fine.
Right. Well, so like, and this is the whole thing. He asked that request, but then I guess Gordy's idea is to do these mass emails out to try and, you know, change people's minds, right? You know, he sends videos of like the new ager who now is a Christian, right? Who like learned.
He's been doing it to me for 10 years. I still get emails from Gordy.
Yeah, you get these videos.
He's a nice guy. He's a friend, but he's persistent.
So he like L.A. Marzulli asked us this, and then Gordy within like a week sends an email saying the Galactic Federation of Lies. So I guess it was like a video, but proving. It's like, this is not going to be a conversation. This is them attacking. They're like, the whole perspective was like, forget it, man. I'm not going to engage in that. Why would you ask me and then send an email saying this? It's just such a stupid thing.
Yeah, I have a friend, he's a very sincere Christian, but he felt that L.A. Marzulli, that's not actually proper Christianity. But I think from their perspective, they're defending the Bible, and this actual truth is a threat to them because it's rebirth, which is a heresy, you know, karma and rebirth is kind of a heresy to them. So, and, you know, like the real truth of the reality of the universe with the gray aliens is a threat to their biblical thinking. I guess it really is. I mean, they're going to have to face it. I guess that's what they're facing.
Yeah, and I think he put some things together in the Bible that, you know, these things here in the Bible are telling you about the gray aliens, and they're trying to make a connection. And listen, man, I studied theology, I studied Latin, I studied history. And when you actually read historical books, like the Bible is just packed full of stories, man. It's stories, and your brain is the one that tries to put them all together. And listen, I studied this stuff, and there are plenty of stories that are wacky and crazy in the ancient world, and they're just stories, man. And the idea that because they're in the Bible, this means something more. Listen, I love the story of Jesus, and I love actually the Old Testament, the wisdom in these stories, but they're also ancient history, and they're not references to things that are happening now. Because if you also study ancient history, you realize they've been using the Bible to explain every present era. So when the Roman Empire fell, that was the Revelations. Revelations was for the Roman Empire falling. Now Revelations was for, for the Age of Enlightenment, right? They kept using. There's a new reason for the Bible to come back up and be a resurgence for them explaining the present moment. They always had some angle with which to use it for. And for those who know theology, know that the Bible's been used tons of different ways in tons of different times, trying to explain something. And it's just. This is ancient history, man. This is just a historical book. And listen, I actually do appreciate the Bible, but to explain gray aliens is not, dude, don't do that. Don't use a 1,500-year-old book to explain possibly a million-year-old civilization.
Yeah, this woman, Barbara, I was talking to this morning, she said, well, gray aliens are satanic. It says these are the laws in the Bible. If everyone had followed it, we would have a good world. And this is what it says in the Bible. She told me to read Revelations. But it's not, I like what you and Ian were saying. Go to the experiences. This is what's happening now. These are people now. Listen to the experiences, rather than some book. I mean, there's all kinds of books. Why should we defer to that book as the law? Like you say, I mean, it explains different epochs in history. But I'm sorry, I don't follow the Bible. I'm a Buddhist. I don't have to follow this book.
And why that law? Like, there's like don't eat shrimp is in there. Like, throw stones at your wife kind of stuff is in there. Like, why are you picking and choosing laws? I'm assuming you must be throwing stones at your wife then, and you must be not eating shrimp then. Like, I guess that's what you're doing, and you're living in a hut and stuff, because I guess that's what you're doing, but you're not. And so you're picking and choosing what you're doing. So
well, it makes me see that we do need a genetic upgrade to, this hybrid humanity, because so much of humanity is stuck to this Bible. It's creating animosity, it's creating fear, it's creating anger, a block to humans spiritually evolving. Like, I feel it's is preventing a spiritual evolution. It's time to move on for like Homo sapiens sapiens to something higher. So I'm in favor of the genetic upgrade. And I guess this is what's happening slowly over the decades, or essentially this genetic upgrade with these younger generations. So I'm in favor of the upgrade. Let's bring it on.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, the world is, I'm actually really excited for the next presentation I'll do, which is it's what I know from them, not what the future is, but who they are, right? It's still like what that white, again, I'm the white room man. You don't know what that was. And I get to explain how I know they are on the inside, what their state of consciousness is. And that alone is the only equivalency is human enlightenment. We don't have any other equivalencies. The way that you're completed, you have this kind of sense of complete, like collapsed energy form, and you're in this state of completion. And that's what gurus do. That's what the masters do, is put themselves into this kind of higher state of energy. And when you do that, you can manipulate matter. And I know gurus who can do that kind of stuff, and that's what they do. The beings do that. So that's obvious that this is high level stuff, higher dimensional, higher consciousness. And I'll kind of talk about that, because then this is not control. I guess keep seeing this. Oh, it means control. It means this. No, it's not me control. It's not control, man. This is not what experiencer is being. I guess if you weren't an experiencer, it looks like you're being controlled, but you're not being controlled. You're working with them, and it's an agreement, and you do like it. Actually, you like being on those ships, and you like their vibe. They feel good to be in, and so I'm looking forward to some of that.
What if you can answer the objection? My close friend Deanne Chase, like she was saying, well, they're these grays they're creating some illusion in our reality, which is deceptive. And she also said, well, who created the grays? So, well, I don't know who created the grays. And yet when she was 9 years old, she saw a cylindrical UFO over a neighbor's house for many minutes. Is a very powerful experience with a whole group of people. And I kind of feel like, I'm like, she doesn't get it. I'm trying to communicate this to her. What would you say to her?
What was the first thing you said? What was that? Say that again.
She's suspicious of the grays, that they're kind of impinging on our three-dimensional reality they're creating illusions, or they're changing our perceptions. So she feels she doesn't trust this.
So, okay, in what way?
Well, I mean,
does she have an example?
Well, what we hear from experiencers who experience the grays, like they'll show them visions on the screen of, say, cataclysms and things which haven't happened. Like, say, experiencers in the 70s and 80s, and David Jacobs, they would see things. Or like Crystal's understanding in 2010, she was told in 2012 there'll be this cataclysm, which didn't happen. And we know that in that sense they're projecting images which haven't happened.
Sure. I guess if you're saying, like, you're using the David Jacobs example and then crystals, is that what Diane is referring to?
I think that's what she's referring to.
Everyone's like hammering on this date thing as the deception, as the great deception of these beings. And I still am having trouble wrapping my head around the fact that, listen, they didn't tell me any dates, so I can't explain why they gave a date. And is that the only thing in that guy's contact event that felt like a deception? Did that guy, David Jacobs didn't, what a disservice this is, right? Like, what the hell is he talking about? He's referring to something that he saw, and then he is interpreting it. Imagine someone did that to me. Someone could even pull out all the spiritual shit and just look at those two sex events and be like, man, that guy got deceived and screwed, and look how fucked that guy got. Like, someone could do that with me, and then you don't know the story, and that guy's made a book about it, right? Like, you don't know the story at all, and that's and I don't know
disinformation.
It is I don't know whose story this is. I don't know who said this. And listen, I hear that
David
this can
Jacobs is negative about the thing. He says,
yeah,
I fear
and again,
for my children's future. So maybe Dan was deceived, or she read something or heard something like that.
Yeah, like, I don't know whose story this is. And the guy, David Jacobs, does admit he doesn't take all the entire contact events. The person, and now he's respecting the experiencer, right? The experiencer has 14, and he does hypnotic regression on 3, right? Like, you don't know what this is going on, and I don't, and so I can't speak to it, and I don't. All I can say is they never deceived me. And when they're doing these holograms, or maybe that's what someone thinks is a deception, but like, you're just talking about what other people. It's total telephone is what it is at this point, and it's for me, it's garbage. I don't know what it is, and I don't know. It's just garbage, and yet. yeah, there people are using this as the legitimate information, and I just don't know what it is, and so I can't speak on it. So,
Did you hear the latest?
which is that?
I want to be a witness to what can't be, but if I choose to find someone who's been there, so I myself can quite soon see. All that comes after that, I don't have to know, especially if what I see from you is not something you can show. Just stupid poetry.
Heavy. Awesome.
But how about Dan's question? Who made the grades? Well, my question, well, like the Buddha said, it's one of these unknowable questions, origination of things. I mean, does it matter? I mean, I don't know who made the grades, but how
Who
would
made
you
us?
answer that? She says, well, who made the grades then? Like, if they're not God, like is she suspicious? I mean,
Who made us? Does she not like humans now? Is like you
Yeah.
have to have the answer? Like I don't understand
yeah, I
that
said,
either. Like
you
maybe
have
she's
to have an answer. I don't know. I mean, they're
Yeah.
a type of being in the galaxy.
listen, and they told me anyway. They said that computer thing was involved with them, that consciousness. This is our God. This is our creator, is what they said. And then one another time when I was telepathic about it, it was a progenitor was the word that came to me. So that thing is their progenitor, is their functionality creator. I don't know what the hell that thing is.
You
And the
described
mantids
that,
work
that
with them.
white light, that bright light, and they said this is
The,
our God.
yeah, the white light thing, the artificial intelligence thing is again the God thing that I've merged with in the white room, which is translated in our world, man, is again, I'm telling you, it sounds bonkers, but when you start talking quantum, where's the line going to be when it really in the end of the day? And I think that this is a higher consciousness experience, and that it's I don't know who the hell's running the whole show, but I think this is the challenging stuff. And if we approach it spiritually, I think that is you'll find the answer rather than scientifically and and negatively. And yeah, it's just the whole negative perspective is not helpful. And the beings aren't being this way. I don't know anybody who's had a negative experience to the point where the beings aren't communicating. They're just aggressive, and they're just, they're evil creatures and demons. And who says why are they even demons? Like, what contact event were they demon like? I don't know that either. And so I don't know where the stuff is coming from. I know that they're, in most cases, as I explain, I see the beings communicating. I see the beings being transparent, though they are communicating telepathy, and they communicate in awkward ways. But their symbolic holograms sometimes are just them communicating. I'm not seeing these beings being evil Knievels. I'm seeing the beings actually often being pretty transparent. So yeah, you just gotta I can't explain for Diane, man, but when people talk like this, I just don't have the answers for where they're coming up with some of this information. And but here's the thing: with someone's resistant, it's like, you're not going to change them, man. It doesn't matter how much information you give them. I don't know. I know this person's your friend, but I'm not attached if someone doesn't understand. And I'm up against that too in my personal world, and I literally can't do anything about it.
She edited one of your early videos. She's really impressed. This is really good. But it's interesting now she's going through quite a spiritual phase of her life. She says, we really have to be more spiritual. And she's saying, well, we should go more within spiritually, and aliens, that's going outside of yourself. And I'm saying, hey, this message is spiritual. Like the message of the grace is spiritual. So I'm trying to make this bridge. So it's,
yeah, no, I don't know, it's just personal advice, man. Just let her do what she wants to do. I actually, for all you know, that's what she needs to do at this time. I don't know. She has to, I wouldn't, don't.
Yeah, I agree.
Push,
yeah, I agree.
Don't push this stuff, man. This is the challenge I'm up against. I'm like, I don't know what my book is going to be like for people. I don't know that people can handle this stuff. So far, these videos are my only outlet, because the book I've given to people don't know these videos. They think I'm making it all up, or they think I'm not making it up, or like he's confused and about some dreams he had. They just can't, they don't understand the connections, the way I put them all together here, or the way I express it here. It becomes, I guess I'm under the impression that people believe me from how I talk and from the effort I can make to present cooperation. But the book does not, I can't do that in a book the same way. And the book actually is challenging to write. And I'm actually left with an opinion that it can only go so far. I can't take it all the way, everyone believe me. I just can't do that. And I've come to terms with it. And I need to let people be who they are, because actually, for some cases, it disturbs people's worlds. And I'm also not going to be the person who destroys their world either. So it has to be at the pace that people can take it. And again, be a creator, not a destroyer. Just like learn how to like live the way you want to live and let people be in the space that they need to be in. So
Yeah, I see everyone's going through their process, like what my friend Dan, they just let them go through their process.
yeah.
And with you, you can do what you can, but maybe there'll be some shift in society in the future where people will listen to these types of books and people like you. There'll be more of an awakening where people will take this seriously now. Like
That's
we know since
yeah.
2017, like the media isn't making fun and ridiculing UFOs like they did now. They're at least they're not ridiculing it so much now. They're taking it a bit more seriously. So maybe we're in a process in society where, you know, beyond yourself, maybe people will start listening in the future. In your
I do believe the disclosure that may happen in our lifetimes past if there's any crazy part where the government does call it a threat after that part, it will bring value to books like these. Yeah, that are you know, that like almost the beings might even to some degree say, you know, these list or these people or these, they might help communities actually try to become spiritual. And I do believe that. I do think that at that point that these kind of things will become really, really valuable. Yeah.
And you said something powerful earlier that they might intervene, like if there's a military, like say nuclear war or something, they might openly intervene. So that's a sign, an indication. Well, maybe they'll shine a light on the truth and themselves.
Yeah, and that point, then they won't have any reason to be covered up anymore. And the covered up is for us, as far as I understand it. It's for us, and they really wanted. I think they really wanted humans to kind of like, you know, help the process, like help humans like take charge of like getting the message out and making it easy. And I think that there's like pushback on that. Maybe I think maybe maybe decades ago there was, like, I guess I don't fully understand it, but it does feel like maybe there was like curves up and down where maybe it was going to be disclosure and then they kind of push back again. And always there's like a portion of the government then anyway I talked about this already, but again, getting tired out. But
Yeah.
Barry, you're going to say something. I saw your hand up.
Oh no, I was one of the ones that believe in you.
Oh yeah,
The people who believe in me. Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
I do.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. Interesting world, interesting stuff.
I want to comment. Richard Dolan, he says that disclosure is probably inevitable because of AI. If AI develops in a generation or so, then it's inevitable. Even though he used to say in the past, well, the government will eventually have to disclose. Then he says more recently now, well, maybe they'll just never disclose. And yet it seems to be inevitable anyways. No.
I am not certain if it'll be the government or not. I actually don't know if it'll just be them. I don't know that. I think there's this conflict. And again, I think it's in our hands and it's not written. I think that there's probabilities, like quantum probabilities above the future. And that's what they're trying to model and work with. And that they're working with a reality that they will have to do something. But
Who's
I don't
they?
know.
You mean the government or the
No,
Greys?
the beings, the Greys,
The
yeah,
beings.
or the aliens will have to do something, yeah. And but I don't know. And again, they're not aggressors. They will never, but they will respond to the military being aggressive, right? They already do this, right? They already do this. They antagonize the aircraft carriers and they antagonize soldiers and they antagonize the jets, right? They don't like this stuff. They don't like military. They don't like this whole aggressive energy because they're spiritual beings. Because that's why you see. I remember Gordy actually like these were his examples of like why they're negative beings. I'm like, that's not what that is, man. These are spiritual
who started
beings.
The fight, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit about that. It's about the military demanding to be who they are, aggressors, and the beings being like, stop this. You can't even beat us. Why aren't you like approaching this differently? And they actually have this kind of, it's obvious to me, again, as an experiencer. I see them antagonizing military because they don't like the military. And again, they never antagonize negatively. They kind of like, zoom by them really fast kind of stuff. They never like harm or hurt, but they definitely bewilder the military men, and they do it repeatedly and over and over and over again. And they let them know that we have your information, right? The way they, in that the Tic Tac video where they were at the end coordinates And the funny thing when you learn about the story is that the coordinates weren't even in the computer system. They were in the heads of the engineer on the aircraft carrier, not even in the, because they give the coordinates out.
Reading the minds.
Yeah, he read the mind. He read the mind of the guy and the aircraft carrier. He didn't even, or he saw the future or something, right? We don't even know. They weren't in the computer, and they weren't even in the mind of the pilot. So because they actually give them random coordinates, right? So it was the coordinates have to be like, it's the way they give the information out. They were in the mind of the guy. It's so funny. And the way they did that, they're just constantly antagonizing, showing you what we know and what we can do, and why are you doing it this way? Because we will never do this or something. You know what I mean? Like they always, it's very interesting the way they interact with the military, but they clearly don't like the military. Yeah.
I know in one of Linda Moulton Howell's episodes, she's even describing like back in 1940, 1941, long before Roswell, the American military, they're encountering UFOs like in World War II, and they're trying to shoot them down with the kind of planes they had at that time. And what she was saying was that in response, some civilian planes, they didn't have jets at that time, civilian planes were getting shot down by the aliens. And she said President Roosevelt said to his vice presidential candidate, Harry Truman, in 1944, he told him, don't fly anywhere, take a train or drive, don't fly. And he didn't tell him why. And the later President Truman, when he was president of the United States, he says, oh, now I know why he was telling me not to fly, because UFOs are in response to the military trying to shoot down UFOs. UFOs are actually shooting down passenger planes.
Right. Yeah.
But they started. The Americans started. Do you want to comment on that, Ian? I hope I didn't mix two speakers together. I think this was one of Linda's episodes.
Linda's talked about this, and I'll give you the case that she cites of the civilian aircraft that was downed. But she does talk about, this is covered by Frank Ficino in his book, Shoot Them Down, the Flying Saucer Air Wave of Air Wars of 1952, where the US military was engaged in trying to shoot down UFOs, but the UFOs were downing military craft as well as a certain amount of civilian craft. And I'm trying to think of who's the famous actress who died in that plane.
Yeah, I know there's a famous actress. She thought her boyfriend or her husband might have been cheating on her. So she was in a hurry to get back home to Hollywood. So she flew and it crashed. Even though she felt she wanted to take the train, and she was warned not to fly, but because of that, she rushed home and the plane crashed or was shot down and she died. Yeah. I forget the name of the actress as well, but it's early 1940s, I think.
It was Carole Lombard, wasn't it?
Ah, could be, yeah.
Carole Lombard in 1942. I think it was January 16th.
Isn't that amazing? 1942, long before Roswell, in the middle of World War II, and President Roosevelt knew about this. It's really amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It was her husband was Clark Gable, wasn't it?
I guess so. And yeah, so she was upset about him cheating.
Yeah. So that was weird. But we also had the UFO crash of, was it Cape Girardeau? And that was 1941 in Missouri.
Yeah, and I think this is what established Harry Truman. He was the man on the scene in Missouri. So it seems because he was such an insider, they picked him to be vice president, then it becomes president of the United States. I assume there's a connection, don't you think?
Yeah. That's a fascinating era. I mean, they even talked then about celestial craft and celestial bodies, and the supposed dead aliens that they took from there were actually held in a vault below the White House, because that was supposed to be the most secure place that they had.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. We think of Harry Truman as like the first UFO president, but it looks like Roosevelt was. Like he knew about this. Yeah.
That's right. And I think it was also who was the head of the army at the time. Trying to think of his name now. Sorry, it's a bit late here, but but yeah, it's fascinating how it all falls into place
I
in
guess
those times.
General Eisenhower was pretty big at that time, right? Well, he maybe in the middle of the war became more prominent. Yeah. Another.
I have to get going, guys. It's to be up early for work. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, we have to thank you. You did it.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, we've been going for 4 hours. Yeah, we milked you with a lot of discussion and
It's
questions.
great.
You've got such knowledge, and you have you're a man on the scene. You have an insight, and you're getting messages from the elder, and you've been through all this. So yeah, I'd like to talk to you as much as I can, Jeff, but you're tired.
Yeah, it's great.
So we all really want to thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much, Brian, Barry, Ian. Great one. Thanks so much, guys, for being here.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. Really enjoyed that, Jeff.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the words in the beginning too, with Linda. That was actually that touched me, so it's really good.
She wanted to make sure that that you did get that specific message. So I have to.
Yeah, actually, what did Linda say? We didn't record it at the time. Ian, do you want to repeat that?
She basically said she wants me to let Jeff know that she holds him and his research and his experiences in very high regard.
Good stuff. That's very good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
it's unfolding. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, guys.
Look forward to catching up with you again soon. I'm sorry I didn't make it to the Paul Lauder meeting. It went wrong because I had everything booked, but I was working.
Paul Elder didn't show up at that time. Like there was a problem with the Zoom, and he didn't get in. So we had him booked, but that was the Kelly video. It was during that talk when he didn't show up. We just had a conversation for hours.
Oh, well, what happened with that date for Paul Elder? I thought that this was...
He's talking about last Sunday, right?
Yeah, last Sunday.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul Elder. I thought you meant Paul Hellier.
Hellier, yeah.
Paul Hellier, the talk we had him booked in the fall, and that's when Kelly gave that talk to Paul Hellier.
Thanks, everyone.
Last Sunday, I set my alarm. I got up at 3 a.m. in the morning and found it had already taken place. So I thought,
yeah, it was a good talk. We'll have that video out.
But I was thrown by the times because I was working on your time going live and my time, which I thought was I can't remember now. I can't work it out. But I screwed up the times. I got the times wrong, and it had already passed.
That's Jeff. You go.
Oh, but I guess we can just close for everyone. Hey, we can just end the video at this time.
Hey, Ian. So you're into us getting Deep Prasad's number, and then having a small private meeting with him. You're into that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I sent you all the information today, Jeff. Did you get my email?
I saw that. Brian, I don't think I can open it. I couldn't open it. So I need
I'll send it to you as an email then.
Yeah, that sounds great.
A lot of information.
Yeah, this should be interesting. I want to see if we can get this done. And quantum computer guy, and just, I have some things, and Ian, please, any contactee or experiencer information about, I want to see where this conversation goes about the stuff we can experience on the crafts, and then if a quantum computer guy can put some of this together, or just what his opinions might be. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. Okay. We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, Ian, Brian.
Okay, take care.
Good
night.
Okay, goodbye, folks.
Thank you,
guys,
everyone.
take care.
Barry.
Okay, see you guys.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Okay, bye now. Next time.